Hello, everybody, and welcome to the National Inventor Club, February 2023. We have our families, we have our personal life, we have our business, startup, invention, all these things that we're working on, and sometimes we might just get stuck. Sometimes we have limiting beliefs that might just not keep us moving forward, and we try to figure out better ways to just keep going. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. That's our topic tonight with Bob Quintana. He is a mind limiting belief personal trainer to help us achieve our goals in 2023 and beyond. So we're going to learn some great tips and all kinds of great information from him tonight. I'm really excited about having him on. So as far as National Inventor Club, you can sign up as a free member. You can sign up as a premium member. Either way, we love to have you aboard. I'm so excited about some of the things that are coming up with the club. I have some things that we're going to be implementing in the next couple months. I'm almost there to announce it. Just a little bit more I need as far as time. So I'll definitely keep you posted. But yes, there are plenty of benefits to becoming a National Inventor Club member. And you'll hear about them very soon. So let's start off with Pierre Lespinas. He's from the Small Business Development Center, and he is in Farmingdale, New York. And SBDC is a division of the SBA. And Pierre, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Of course, it's a pleasure to be here.
You have some resources, some tips, some advice as far as from the Small Business Development Center to share with the audience. So you're on.
Yes. So you've invented something. You've discovered something. So you are at some stage of developing the widget, the item, the product that you have created. Congratulations. That's great. But what's probably in the back of your mind is it at some point this thing gets, how can I turn this into a business? How can I monetize what I have invented? How can I make money out of it? Okay, it's the early stages. You don't have a business yet, but you may still want to come in and share your thoughts with a business advisor. Why? Because in the long run, it's going to take some time for you to develop a model. And I'll tell you the difference between a model and a business plan. A model is not a business plan. A model is basically how will you get this thing done from point A and deliver it to the hands of your consumer, the ultimate consumer of what you created at point Z. All right. So it's really like if you were to draw something on a linear basis, you had a line, it would look like a process chart. You start here and you wind up there where the money is, right? That would be your monetization model. By the time you get to the business plan, which is months, after that, it's not quite immediate. A business plan is basically you planning to execute the business model that you have chosen. Okay. So if you think this is like far off, far behind, what am I going to be thinking about? I want to give you four things that you can start talking about and use the free services of a place like the SBDC to bounce these ideas, get some initial research done so that while you're working on the product, you're sort of getting a feel for what model you want to choose to monetize it. The first thing is capital requirement. You're not going to know the exact number, but you sort of want to fool around with the idea. How much money will I need, okay, to execute my model? Is my model one that includes manufacturing, or is my model is one that includes licensing, where it's licensed and I get a paycheck or royalty, and that's all it is, right? So that will help you situate yourself in terms of what model might work for me, right? The other thing is production capacities and logistics, right? Where would this thing be made? You do some research. Is anybody making this stuff in America? or must I go overseas? Just in your mind, so you can sort of situate yourself. The other thing that you might want to think about is market conditions. Yeah, you want to know who would I be competing with? In what market would I have competition? Okay, and what's the nature of the competition? Why would mine have a competitive advantage? Just vaguely, nothing precise, but you ought to start thinking about that. Okay, and then lastly, you may want to start thinking about distribution networks. If you're doing something that's 500 pounds, the distribution network might be different than putting it on UPS, right? You want to start thinking that if it's that heavy, how does this move from one place to another? Where would I keep it? All of these things are things that you would have in your mind, but if you were to come to the SBDC, a manager would sort of help you structure your thought process. Okay, you can think all you want, but the manager will sort of help you focus and structure your thought process. We don't want to say that it's all free. It isn't free. Somebody is paying us, obviously, but it wouldn't be you. Okay, the state of New York pays us because there is a tremendous advantage in having people like you invent things, create economic impact, and then pay taxes, of course. Okay, but it wouldn't cost you anything. It would cost you some time, but some valuable time that in the end will help you take your invention into a marketable, monetized product. All you gotta do is make a phone call. Call the SBDC.
Thank you, Pierre. So Pierre is a SBDC Small Business Development Center business advisor, and he's located in Farmingdale, New York, at Farmingdale State College. Many of the Small Business Development Center centers are actually within local colleges right in your neighborhood or in your area. There's America's SBDC that you can look up. And Pierre, if you're going to go back on one of the social medias, maybe you want to share that link
Yeah,
afterwards. But
certainly.
you can go on America's SBDC and find the local SBDC in your area. Again, SBDC is funded by the Small Business Administration. And you know how much it costs? Pierre, tell us.
It costs you nothing but your time.
Costs nothing. Well, your time, right, for you to help us as well. And it's your time.
Yeah.
Business plans, research, connections in your area for different opportunities, grants. Definitely take advantage of the Small Business Development Center in your area. Pierre, thank you as always. Erica, the director of the Farmingdale State College SBDC, thank you as always for your support, and we'll see you again soon.
It's a pleasure. Always.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, so as I mentioned before, we are on a roller coaster ride, ups and downs of life, of inventing, of our businesses, family, all things that kind of hit us along the way. These are things that we need to help us to keep us moving forward, is to get past them. And I'd like to introduce Bob Quintana. I've actually known Bob for over 15 plus years, but let me tell you why I know him. So Bob Quintana, he's the CEO and founder of RLQ Consulting Group. He's a highly sought after entrepreneur and executive business advisor. He's founded and led numerous highly successful companies and entrepreneurial ventures over his 30 plus year career. His clients, listen to this, his clients have included Fortune 500 companies like JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Ford Motor Company, and many other companies. And actually, Bob has partnered with the renowned high performance coach. Everybody's heard of Tony Robbins. He was with him for 14 and a half years as president of Anthony Robbins Consulting. So, Bob, it's an honor to have you here tonight.
It's my pleasure, Brian. It's always my honor, buddy. It's always great to connect with you.
Thank you. I know that you can help us kind of take our brain, look inside, and get it to a point where we can look a little bit beyond the things that might get us stuck. Why don't we start off, Bob? Why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself first, actually?
First of all, Brian, thank you for the opportunity. I love talking to entrepreneurs. I love talking to inventors. I love talking to visionaries. people who are out there moving and shaking. And folks, if you're on this call, if you're a part of this club, you're a visionary or you wouldn't be here. So I have tremendous, tremendous respect and appreciation for that. And I love talking to people like you. I'm going to share with you some strategies, some skills, some key ideas in some core areas of peak performance and business and life performance that I guarantee you. And folks, I don't use that word lightly. Brian will tell you, I choose my words very, very mindfully, right? And I rarely use the word guarantee, but I will guarantee you that if you commit to implementing these skills, you will make positive progress. You will make results at a faster pace. So, I started my first real business in 1989. So in May, it'll be 34 years that I started. My first business was the executive search business, an executive search firm. And since then, I've had the opportunity to have, quite a few successes in numerous businesses. Brian mentioned that I had the opportunity to work very closely with my dear friend and business partner, Tony Robbins, who I was president of Anthony Robbins and Associates for about 14 and a half years. And we did a lot of great work together, and that was incredibly fulfilling. I've also had the opportunity to help lead and help launch an energy company that grew to over $330 million a year, then ended up going public on the Canadian Stock Exchange and got sold. Very, very exciting. Most recently, in the last few years, I've had the opportunity to raise around $11 million. We did a $3 million seed round, and then raised another $7-8 million for a very, very cool tech company out of Florida that is revolutionizing the way that electronic offers and coupons are being issued and cleared and utilized. So some really, really cool stuff.
I could tell you, Bob, I've known you, like I mentioned earlier, for probably 15 plus years. And what you taught me is still implemented in my brain. And hopefully you can have that kind of impact tonight with the audience. Look, work on yourself tonight. Bob has been doing this for a long time. I know he doesn't know everybody right now personally and individually here, but just take a few moments for yourself and listen to what he's saying, because it can be really impactful for you. It might not be everything that he goes over tonight, but it might be one or two things that might make a difference for you to reach your goals in 2023 and beyond.
Folks, the truth is that one idea can literally change everything if you do what with it? Think about it. If you use it, right? If you implement it. Knowledge doesn't apply itself. We have to apply it. We have to implement it. But one idea can literally, be the difference between super success and failure. I like to say the success is a lot like the combination to a combination lock, right? And a lot of times, let's say you've got a combination lock with 4 numbers on it. And you could have 3 or 4, you could have 2 or 3 of those numbers perfectly dialed in. But you could just have 1 or 2 of those 4 number combination off by 1 or 2 ticks on that combination lock. Remember, like our high school lockers back in the day, right? They could be off by 1 or 2 ticks, and literally you're locked out. And it seems sometimes when we continue to be locked out, that we start wondering sometimes if we're anywhere near the results that we ultimately want, if we're anywhere near the success equation, when the fact is that all we have to do is take 1 of those numbers and dial it in 1 or 2 ticks to the right or to the left, and all of a sudden, boom, that lock pops and we're in, right? And that's how success is, folks. And I've been studying this, I've been applying this, and I've been teaching this now for over 30 years. And these are proven strategies. So, folks, we call this peak performance strategies for your breakthrough in 2023 and beyond.
You know what, Bob? Right before our meeting this evening, I had a call from Darnella, and she's our newest member of National Inventor Club, premium member. And she explained it like this: I am so excited to hear what Bob has to say tonight, because I feel like I'm on a hamster wheel going in circles, not knowing what to do, what not to do. Should I do it? Should I take a chance? Should I take a risk? Should I just go for where I see, and I'm not sure where I'm going to end up? So Darnella, this is for you.
Darnella, this is definitely for you and for everybody else who thinks like Darnella and is saying, hey, I'm looking for those ideas. I'm looking for those key strategies. And again, Darnella, remember, a lot of times when you're not getting the result you want, you're a lot closer than you may think, right? So I like to start with something, and I've been teaching this for, and Brian, I was thinking about it, buddy. We've known each other closer to 20 years than 15. So I want to say it was at least 2005, and I think it was earlier than that. It might have been 2004, 2003. So If it's not 20 years, it's getting real close. But time flies, as we say. But something I call the peak performance formula, and that is, folks, that there are three core components of performance. If you look at the right of the screen, you've got performance at the end of the equation here, but there are three core components that make up our level of performance. The first is our mindset, the quality of our mindset. And we're going to break each of these down in depth here as we go along, right? And that includes things like, are we clear on what we want in our lives, in our businesses? Do we have compelling reasons to achieve them? Brian talked briefly about belief systems and our feelings of certainty around our ability to succeed, our ability to manage our emotions. Those are all parts of mindset. Then we have skill set, right? So mindset plus skill set. At the end of the day, there are certain skills that we have to ultimately become effective at. At least effective, if not extraordinarily effective, or even mastery level ultimately. But the fact is that there are always going to be skills that we've got to master. Skills around your specific area of expertise, the industry that you're in, the type of product or service that you and your business are offering, that you've invented. So we need, it might be technical expertise that we need, right? So there's going to be skill sets. So it's mindset plus skill set. And then you see there's parentheses around those two. And we multiply that times execution. Because at the end of the day, it's great to have a great mindset and be inspired and focused and on point. And it's great to have all these great skills. But if we don't execute, if we don't do anything, then what typically happens?
Nothing.
Not a whole lot, right, Brian? Exactly.
Yeah.
Nothing happens. So that's why execution is a multiplier, right? We multiply. So we want to take our mindset and our skill set and execute on both those things to create the level of performance. So if we go to the next slide here.
You know what, Bob? On that
Yeah.
slide, I
Yeah.
look at myself as an inventor and looking at that formula. And the mindset for me is, okay, I just came up with a great idea. What am I going to do with it? Do I have the skills to figure out what my next steps are? Or do I have to learn them? Or do I have to find somebody to be able to help me to learn my skill set, or they could do it for me? And then at the end of the day, if I don't do anything with it, then it's just an idea that just passes. So I need to figure out a way to execute the idea and the skills that I just built. And then at the end of the day, that's great, you built it, but now you want to see results and success. And that might be selling your product, licensing, manufacturing, starting your own business. But this can also just be for you. It doesn't have to be for a business or an idea. It could be something that you learn for yourself to be able to achieve personal achievement, right, Bob?
100%. This applies as much to our personal lives, right? To being better parents, to being better spouses, to being better leaders in our community, to being, better at everything and anything that we do. This formula applies to literally anything and everything we do, any and every area of our lives. So great point there, Brian. And hey, buddy, you're stealing my thunder. You've seen this stuff before. You know this. Brian's pretty good at this himself, so
I'm going to let you do your thing.
he can teach this class without me. So let me tell you. But so guys, there's really four key points, and we could easily spend. I mean, literally, when I teach this at a full blown, training or workshop, we would spend hours and hours going through this in depth. Obviously, we're not going to do that, but we are going to, spend some time here, and I'm going to ask you to do this. So if you are in a place where you can write something down, right, I'm going to ask you to do that because that's how you get the most out of this experience. And if you're in your car or you're on the move and you can't, then at least follow along with us mentally so you can really have the most takeaway from this material as possible, right? So mindset, there's really four core facets of mindset. The first is clarifying our outcomes. We got to really know what we want. And most people don't get what they want because they haven't identified it. They haven't made it specific enough in terms of, what they want and why they want it, right? So I talk about setting level 3 goals. And I'm going to challenge you folks right now. Here we are. We're still quite early in the new year here, although actually we're coming up already on the end of the second month. So, 2023, like every other year, seems to be flying. But it's still very early and still lots of time to be able to achieve all the goals that you have for 2023. So the first thing I want you to do is I want you to really identify, and if you can, write down specifically your number one business goal, your number one entrepreneurial or inventor or or business goal for 2023. And I talk about setting level 3 goals. Now let me explain level 3 goals. Level 1 goals are goals that you've already done before. So let's say your goal is to earn a certain amount of money. Excuse me. Let's take a sip here. A little dry throat. Let's say your goal is to earn a certain amount of money. If you've already earned that amount of money, right? Let's say it's $50,000. You've earned $50,000 before. Then to set a goal that to earn $50,000, that's a level one goal because you've already done it. You know exactly how to do it, right? And there's probably very little, or there's actually no growth in that. So that's a level one goal, something you've already achieved before. You know how to do it. Zero growth. A level two goal is something that is a slight stretch. So you say, okay, I've made $50,000. My goal is to earn $55,000 or $60,000. By the way, that's a pretty significant jump, but it's not, but it's probably not going to challenge you to stretch yourself too much. Right? I'm just using money as an example, right? Because that's one that's pretty important to people. But it could be anything, anything you've achieved before. If it's a slight stretch, if it's no stretch, it's a level one, no growth. If it's a level two goal, it's a slight stretch, but still not a lot of growth there. A level three goal are really what we're looking for. Level three goals are goals that both inspire us like crazy. The idea of achieving this level, so maybe it's you've earned $50,000 and your goal is to earn $100,000 or $150,000, and you really, in your heart of hearts, want that and know it's possible. You may not know how you're going to do it. See, that's the thing about a level three goal. You have no idea how you're going to do it, and it inspires the heck out of you and thrills you in terms of how inspiring and exciting it is to think about achieving it, but it probably also scares the heck out of you. That's a level three goal. So I'd like everybody to think about it. If you already have a level three goal set for yourself for 2023, fantastic. Write it down. Write it down again. I'm going to share a little strategy with you at the end that's going to tie this all together. Okay. But if you don't already have a level three goal for 2023, then set one right now, right? What's a goal that when you think about, and it's probably something that you've really thought about and have wanted in the past, but you've said, oh man, I could never do that. And you maybe talked yourself out of why you didn't really take it on, why you didn't really set it and commit to it. So I'm going to ask you right now to just write it down. All right. We're not committing to it yet, but just what would that level three goal be for you that would inspire you, that would scare the heck out of you, and that would challenge the heck out of you and really stretch you like crazy to achieve it? Because see, that's truly the desired outcome. And the major reason why we want to set inspiring goals, folks, is not just the achievement of that outcome. Of course, we want that. But the ultimate gain from setting a level three stretch goal like that is who it forces us, who it challenges us to become in the process. Because see, that can never be taken away. Hey, we double our income from 50 to 100,000. That's great. We're going to spend the 50,000. Hopefully we'll remember where we spent it, invested it, etc. Right? But at the end of the day, that money will come and go. But who we become in the process of challenging ourselves, of stretching ourselves, that can never be taken away from us. And we will build on that over and over and over again, which will literally create ultimately a quantum leap, right? So a level three goal, if you haven't already written one down, write one down now. We're not asking you to commit to it right now, but just write it down, okay? That's the first step. Set a level three goal. Make it specific, make it measurable, set a time frame on it, right? By December 31st, 2023, I will achieve X. Make it specific, measurable, etc. Right? Okay, second step, develop compelling reasons to achieve it. Now we're starting to move into committing to it, right? So the question becomes compelling reasons that make it a must for you to achieve. And typically that comes from, our really thinking about what the payoff will be of us achieving it, not only to ourselves, but what the payoff will be to the people we love, our family, our children, if you have children, the causes that we feel passionate about, that we want to positively impact, right? What are the real compelling reasons? Who will become in the process? What we'll be able to build as we, spring off of the achievement of that level three goal to the next goal, right? When we think about that, what are all the reasons that really will be the payoff, the benefits of achieving it, and the opposite side of that, which is what will it cost you if you don't go for it? If you never, go for it and literally just leave that out there as a dream that you have, you'd like to go for, but if you allow fear to overcome you, and look, we've all done it. We've all allowed fear to move us back into our comfort zones, right? And limit us from really going for it, right? What will we feel? I like to say, give yourself the rocking chair test. Let's say you're 120 years old, you're sitting on your rocking chair, right? You're sitting by the fire and you're looking back on your life. Is your life going to be an example of what's possible? or will it be a warning for other people to not follow that lead, right? We want to make sure that our lives are an example. And the way to do that is to set compelling goals that stretch us and have the reasons, those compelling reasons to achieve them. So let me take a breath here, Brian, see if there's anything you want to add on any of that. And before we move on.
Oh, I feel like it's just keep going because I'm focused and I'm on target here of setting level 3 goals and finding reasons to actually achieve them. And what am I going to sacrifice and what am I going to really do whatever it takes with to be able to see the results that I'm looking to achieve.
Well, and Brian, you said on something huge, whatever it takes, WIT, right? Ultimately, that's really what, when we talk about setting a compelling reason or creating a compelling reason, something we're committing to doing, it's about making the achievement of that goal a must, not a should. See, when things are shoulds, like we should do that, hey, we probably should eat better. We should exercise a little bit more. We should spend more time with certain people in our lives, right? We should spend more time, developing our businesses. And shoulds tend to get put off. But when things are musts, when you think back to the things that you've achieved that you're most proud of achieving in your entire life, I guarantee you that they were musts in your life. That you made that happen regardless of what it took. Like Brian said, whatever it took, right? So that's level 2, compelling reasons. Level 3, establishing and reinforcing an empowering belief system. Now, folks, we could spend hours and hours on this. Brian touched on it in the intro. Folks, empowering beliefs are beliefs that ultimately support us in achieving our level 3 goals. Now, what is a belief? A belief is for a lot of people, it's like this esoteric, sort of hard to understand thing, but it's really not. A belief is nothing more than a feeling of certainty about what something means. So when we say, I believe that I can earn $100,000 this year, if you've earned 50 and you're going to double it, right? Then what you're saying is, I'm certain of that. I believe that. I'm certain of that. What happens in life, folks, is we don't consciously, most people don't consciously choose their belief system. Where do we get our beliefs? Think about it. Where do our beliefs come from? We're not born with them. We acquire them. Where do we get them? Brian, give us a couple areas that we get our beliefs.
Family, work, just people watching, even the same
Exactly.
thing, right? Just
All of the above, experiences, right? Yeah, all of that, right? And, authority figures, right? So, teachers, right? So, and some of those beliefs were really empowering, like Brian, you're the best, you're capable of anything. And then sometimes, we've had results in our lives that weren't so great, and maybe it got us to doubt ourselves. So we end up with this mixed bag of beliefs, some that empower us, some that hold us back. The key here, folks, is to realize that we end up with this belief more often than not as a result of not consciously choosing them. What I'm suggesting here is that we consciously choose our beliefs. So here's my challenge to you. If you were to, what is the most empowering belief, the most positive, supportive belief you have about yourself in regard to achieving your top goal, your level 3 goal that you just wrote down? Think about it. Write it down. What's your most empowering belief? The one that really, really supports you and, lifts you up and fires you up and supports you in going for it every day, right? Now let's think about what's a belief, and be honest. Nobody's going to look at this. This is just for you, right? What's a belief that you've maybe allowed? And you didn't do it consciously, but it's kind of snuck in there. And realistically, when you're honest with yourself, you say, "Hey, man, I'm not too sure about that. I don't have certainty around this, or maybe I have certainty that I can't do a certain thing that I want to do." Like for some people, public speaking, right? What Brian and I are doing right now, some people would say, that they've done surveys and people feared public speaking more than death. Think about that, right? So, that's a limiting belief. There's no reason. The public speaking can be really, really fun, right? But we got to obviously stretch ourselves. So what is a limiting belief that you've had? A belief that has held you back, right? Take that belief like, I'm too young, or I'm too old, or I'm not smart enough, or I don't have enough experience. If you were to flip that over and say, man, I have experience because I have life experience. I'm a student of life. I'm a student of business. I learn everywhere I'm going. I'm a lifelong learner. And maybe make that our beliefs, right? And so how could you literally take that limiting belief and make it an empowering one? Write it down, right? And you see where we're going. Now, obviously, we don't have a ton of time to spend on this. Maybe, Brian will invite me back sometime, and we'll have the opportunity to talk more in depth about this. But for right now, let's, just take that limiting belief and reframe it, become an empowering belief for you. So now we've got our level 3 goal set. We've got compelling reasons to achieve it, reasons that are going to get us up early and keep us up late, right? We're establishing an empowering belief system. something that's really going to support us and really be our foundation for achieving great results, here's the last of the 4 steps to mastering and becoming outstanding in your mindset, which is to master your emotional states of mind, regardless of your circumstances. And what we mean by this, folks, is that, look, situations are going to happen. No matter how great you are, no matter how great your idea is, your invention is, your business is, right? There's going to be things are going to happen, right? Situations are going to happen to all of us. So the fact is, we've got to become outstanding at mastering and managing our emotional states of mind. And there's 3 ways to do that. There's a formula for mastering your emotional states. We're not going to be able to go into this in any real depth right now, but I'm going to give you the 3 pieces of it. So in terms of 3 ways to master your emotional state, number 1 is to master your use of your what we call physiology. Physiology is a fancy word for the way that you move and use your body, folks. Say, Bob, what are you talking about? Folks, when we talk about mastering your emotional states of mind, literally the way that we move, the way that we stand, right, are literally linked to our emotional states of mind. That's why we've probably all experienced this. We probably have all worked out at some time. Hopefully you work out regularly. If you don't right now, then maybe that's another goal you can set, but you have maybe at some point. And we've probably all gone to do a workout on a day where we were tired, didn't feel like it, maybe it was after work, but then we drag ourselves to go take that walk or go take that jog or go to the gym or do that aerobics class or whatever it might have been, right? And we're tired and we're maybe a little groggy, a little cranky at the end of the day. And all of a sudden we start working out. What happens? All of a sudden we feel awake, we feel alert. We end up leaving the gym or ending our workout more energized than when we started. You go, how's that possible? I'm working out late in the day. I was tired when I got here. I expended energy in my workout. How can I feel more energized? Folks, that's because our physiology, the ways that our bodies are linked through our nervous system, is when we move in certain ways, we create certain feelings. So if you want to feel powerful, stand in a powerful physiology. Move the way a powerful person moves. Stand the way a powerful person stands, and you will start to literally feel power. This is automatic. This is linked within your nervous system. And by the way, it also works the other way too, right? If I asked you to describe a depressed person, where would their head be? Up or down? That would be down. Where would their back be? Their shoulders be back or slumped? The shoulders would be slumped, right? Where would their breathing be? Deep or shallow? Their breathing would be shallow, right? How come you all knew the answer to those questions? Well, because we've probably all been there at one time or another. We probably felt a little down, or depressed or whatever. But literally it happens because of the way we use our bodies. That is the most powerful thing to remember about changing and mastering your emotional state of mind, folks. If you need to change your emotional state, just change the way you're moving your body. Take a deep breath, move your body, right? Literally go out, get some fresh air, okay? And that's why that works. The other 2 ways, very quickly, to change your emotional state after physiology are to control your focus, what you're focusing on and how you're focusing on things. That's number 2. And number 3 is to control your use of language, the language that you use to describe what's going on in your life. This means in 2 ways. The language you use with other people, when people say, how's it going? Some people say, same crap, different day. Well, guess what kind of, emotional state they're creating? A same crap, different day kind of day, right? And an emotional state, right? But, some people you talk to and they're going, man, how's it going? Man, I'm blessed. Man, every day is fantastic. There's so much opportunity in my life right now. I'm surrounded by so many phenomenal people, right? So the language that they use with others, be very mindful of that. And even more importantly, the language that you use with who? Yourself, right? Yeah. Because guess what, folks? Whatever we say to other people every now and then, we're saying to ourselves probably over and over and over again. So let's be really, really mindful of mastering our emotional states. So folks, we do that. We clarify our outcomes. We know what we want. We're willing to set level 3 goals. We develop compelling reasons that get us from our heart of hearts to want to do what's necessary, do whatever it takes, like Brian said. Number 3, we consciously establish and consciously adopt, make them up, an empowering belief system to support the results that we want most. And number 4, we master our emotional states by mastering our physiology, mastering our focus, and mastering our language with others and with ourselves. Man, we are on our way to peak performance. So that is literally, folks, this mindset piece is literally 90% of the game. 90% of the games. And I've worked with tens of thousands of entrepreneurs, literally over the last 30 plus years. Probably 6 figures, probably over 100,000. All right. Many. And I have found without question, without exception, in my own experience and in the experience of the many people that I've worked with, that mindset is 90% of the success equation. So after mindset, now mindset isn't everything, but it's the main piece of the puzzle. Without that, the other stuff doesn't matter. Second piece is skill set. So skill set, folks, I mentioned this briefly before. You got to develop the skill sets necessary to achieve your level 3 goals and objectives. What kind of skill sets? Subject matter skills and expertise. You got to know what we're talking about. We got to become at least proficient, and ultimately we got to become expert level in some things. Now, you'll notice what it says at the bottom. Consider partnering or joint venture with those who can provide skills or resources that complement your own. You don't have to become outstanding at all of these, folks. And this is just a partial list, but you want to become excellent at certain aspects of them and then complement yourself with others. So subject matter skills and expertise, technical expertise, technology, let's face it, plays a huge role. Who understands tech in your business? I like to say, for those of you that may be raising capital, and as I mentioned, I've helped quite a few companies do that. I like to talk about the 3 T's: team, technology, and timing. Right? I tell people, and I've done entire trainings on how to create pitch decks that are really compelling to raise capital for your idea. But the idea here, folks, is that team, tech, and timing. Got to put together a great team with yourself as the leader, obviously. Right? Technology. Who's gonna everything has a tech component today in 2023, and even more so now with AI and everything else coming into play. And timing. We got to show why our timing is outstanding. So technical expertise, leadership excellence, and skill sets, right? You got to have the ideas. You got to be able to get the funding. You got to, put together resource, and the early leadership is going to come from you as the leader, as the visionary, as the CEO, as the founder. Leadership expertise, creating the vision, assembling and leading the team, execution and accountability around objectives and goals, right? Communication excellence. Communication is one of the most key, one of the most important skills to master, because we got to be able to communicate our ideas and thoughts and visions. We got to be able to build consensus and get buy-in from our teammates, from our customers, from our investors, right? And we've got to be able to build organizational culture. We're going to build a business, even if you're a business of one and you don't see yourself having more than one team member. Your business is still going to have a culture, and that's going to come from your ability to communicate that to others. Sales and business development skills, right? Not much happens until we sell our idea, until we market it, until we get it out there. And there are many, many other skills. Well, you don't have to master them all yourself. Like I said, consider joint venturing or partnering with others who are high quality people, high character, people first and foremost, right? And who bring those skill sets that can complement your own to create something much greater than the sum of the parts. So, Brian, before we go to the last piece of the puzzle here, anything you want to touch on regarding skill set? I know you're a master of many of these areas, and love to get your thoughts on this.
Well, you started off with the mindset, and I think that's really the foundation of who you are and are you ready to move forward? And you definitely planted that in my head from that first slide. And this one is everything around you, the tools, resources, the support to really get yourself ready to launch or to keep moving forward. So this is every component, every step here. There's something in each one of these bullet points that we need to definitely take into consideration, not to consideration, to actually do.
Yeah, and guys, obviously I'm talking real fast here because we got a bunch of stuff to cover, and I want to make sure that we stay within our time frame. But we could take a lot of time, hours and hours, days, weeks, to unpack some of this. In fact, Brian and I are working on some stuff that we've been unpacking now for several weeks, right, Brian? Around core guiding principles for your organization, some of your companies, and so on. So I realize we're throwing a lot at you, folks. This is kind of like taking a drink out of a fire hose, but it's okay, right? Because we're ultimately going to leave you with a challenge here that'll make it real for you. So let's go to the last piece of the puzzle here, folks, which is execution, right? And at the end of the day, like we said, we've got to take consistent and persistent action toward the achievement of our goals and dreams. Not much happens if we just think about it and have a great mindset and have great goals, and we're inspired, we're fired up, right? But there's lots of people that are really. You ever talk to somebody who's really fired up? They go, "Man, how you doing?" They're like, "Great." They go, "How's it going?" "Awesome." You say, "What are you doing?" They go, "I don't know." Nothing. What have you achieved recently? Nothing. Probably because they're not executing. The mindset's great. The skill set's fantastic. Two critical pieces of the puzzle. At the end of the day, we've got to take action. Consistent, persistent action toward the achievement of the goals that inspire us the most. And this is what we talked about earlier. It's interesting. Know that occasional failure is part of the success equation, folks. That's it. Do not be afraid of failure. And I was afraid, man. I was so afraid to fail that very often I wouldn't go for it, right? And maybe, you can probably relate. I think most of us can, right? And then I realized someone said to me years and years, decades ago, said, fail forward fast. Not only don't be afraid to fail, but literally, and look, it's so common, it's cliche, right? I mean, look, Elon Musk, the richest guy on the planet. How many times did he fail at launching that first rocket? Guys, we know the story. It's really famous right now. You probably heard it. He was down to his last. That was it. Literally, he had cashed out of PayPal with somewhere in the neighborhood of $150 million. Like, never have to work another day in your life, right? But he was obviously inspired. He had something. He had a purpose, right? You want to talk about commitments? You want to talk about all in, right? But you know what? He kept doing it. Kept doing it. That one worked, obviously, and continued to work. And now SpaceX and Tesla and everything else. And he's the richest guy on the planet, right? So don't be afraid to fail. In fact, I'm not saying seek failure in terms of want it, but realize it's part of the success equation. It's going to happen. If you're not failing, folks, there's an old saying that if you haven't really had a major, major failure by the time you're 40, it's like get started because you're not doing enough, right? And I found that to be true. Most people I know that are super, super successful, by the time they're out there, look, if you might be older, it doesn't matter. Age is just a number anyway. My point is, fail forward fast. Don't be afraid of failure. It's part of the success equation. Why do I say fail forward fast? Failing, you learn, you move forward, and you more intelligently begin again. And take the actions, go for it, because you're gonna have some successes, you're gonna have some setbacks, you're gonna learn, and you're gonna go better, approach it better the next time.
What do we do when somebody tells us that idea sucks, and then somebody else tells us it's amazing, it's great, keep moving forward? So it could be in life too. Go ahead and do that. It's going to be great, or it's not going to be great. So we get pulled from different directions, whether it's life, business. What do we do to help us to make that decision?
I say disregard the critic. And that means both the internal critic and the external critic, because everybody has got an opinion, right? Meaning, some people just want to have an opinion because they got nothing better to do. And one of my favorite quotes is by Theodore Roosevelt in 1910. It's a famous, famous speech that he gave called The Man in the Arena. And it's a very, very famous speech. Google it, right? But it starts out, it is not the critic who counts. It is not the man who points out how the strong man stumbled or how the doer of deeds could have done them better, right? And then he goes on to say, the credit belongs to the person who is in the arena, who is covered in sweat and blood, but is going for it, as opposed to the person who's sitting in the stands taking pot shots. So if people tell you your idea stinks, but you believe in it, say, hey, thanks, talk to the hand, I appreciate it, next. Don't spend a lot of time talking that. That's not failure, folks. That's somebody's opinion, and I wouldn't put much stake in it. Now, if somebody that you trust and respect has some positive, constructive feedback, that's different. Say, okay, take it into consideration. I'm not saying believe it or accept it blindly, but yeah, but as far as critics go, there's way too many of them out there, especially now, guys, online, where everybody can hide behind some social media name or whatever, not even put their real name or their real face. I disregard that. All right, so create simple plans and consistently implement the plan. Measure. Here's a critical thing. Measure your results. Don't ever be afraid to measure, right? I talk about the 3 M's: measure, monitor, and manage. Don't be afraid to measure. But a lot of people are afraid to measure. Why? Because they feel that if they're not making the progress that they want, or they're not making it fast enough, they feel like a what? They feel like a failure.
Right.
Remember, folks, if that's the case, then failure is part of the success equation. It tells you that what you're doing, how you're thinking, the approach you're taking is not ideal. You've got to adjust it, right? And that's the last part of execution here, is to stay flexible in your approach, make the necessary adjustments or course corrections, and go until you achieve your desired goals and outcomes. Means you take action, you measure the result. Am I getting closer to or further away? Am I getting there as quickly as I want? If I am, great. How do I accelerate? If I'm not, okay, then what do I need to adjust? Maybe I need to adjust my mindset. Maybe I need to adjust my skill set. Maybe I need to adjust how I'm executing a bit, and then go again, and then measure, adjust, measure, adjust. Folks, you probably heard this, right? A plane that takes off from New York, headed to LA, is literally off course about 97 to 99% of the time. Why? Because wind and weather moves it off its perfect course. But it has pilots and it has technology, autopilots, that constantly move it and shift it on so that ultimately 6 hours later, 5.5 hours later, it lands on a dime, leaving from JFK and lands at LAX. Why? And yet it was off course 90 to 99% of the time. Why? Because it course corrects. Don't worry about being off course. Just measure. The more you measure. Now, if that autopilot didn't measure, right, and the course correction here is minor, but if we keep going and we don't adjust that, then that difference will end up in Seattle rather than LA, right? So we've got to be willing to measure and then course correct and adjust. And the more often you measure, the smaller those course corrections will be because you'll be getting them more often. Make sense? So,
It
Brian,
does.
anything you want to touch on, execution before we tie it all together?
Look, Bob, as the life of an inventor, an entrepreneur, there's a lot of risks that I take and other people I know that take. And the way that I visualize it is when I end up failing, I hit a brick wall, I learn from it, I back up, I look at the wall, and then there's probably an opening to the right or the left of it. And that's what I visualize to keep myself moving forward. And look, it could
I love
be
it.
I had a deal, I lost a deal. Well, guess what? Another deal can come along just like the first deal. It's just you got to just keep it. The execution is there. It's not always going to be door number one. You might have to go through door number 2, 3, 4. One of the ideas that I had, uh, it took me over 80 times of people to say no till they ended up saying yes. I found somebody that said yes and gave me a shot. And then my product and my line of clothing was in Target and Walmart and Sears and like that's what I'm saying. You just got to keep moving forward, but you got to find a way, and you have to have it in your head. You need the energy and the stamina, and like you said earlier, the emotional state. You got to just tell yourself it's okay. Just keep moving forward.
Oh man, that is so valuable what you just said there, Brian. And guys, look, from the leader of this organization, right? The guy who started it, who's here, who created this to help you. He's, so many different inventions and successes that Brian's had. It's everything. Brian just summed up in about 2 minutes everything we've been talking about for the last 45 minutes, right? That was awesome, Brian. And I mean, that's it, folks. And look, the fact is, you talk about losing deals. I had a deal that I've been working on for the last 3 to 4 months. Major deal, major consulting, agreement, right? The company had, I won't go into the details. The company had somebody come in, offer them $8 million to take over their entire manufacturing capability to go in a totally different direction. And they basically said, Bob, I mean, we were ready to sign the deal, right? Ready to sign the deal. And been working on it 3.5, 4 months. And said, Bob, what do you want me to do? I said, no, guys, what happened was, so we worked on it for like 4 months. These guys got offered $8 million to take over their entire manufacturing capacity to go in a totally different direction that I really couldn't help them with. The market was very different, and it just the resources I was bringing to the table. Now I'm still pursuing it to see if there might be something there, but my guess is saying probably not. Hey, did everything we could. The deal was ready to go. It happens. It's part of the success equation. So here's a call to action. The next steps. This is one of my favorite quotes on the planet, folks. It was said by Andrew Carnegie. Now, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Andrew Carnegie. This isn't Dale Carnegie, who's another awesome guy who taught public speaking and was a one of the early leaders in the personal development movement back in the 30s, 40s, and 1950s and beyond. This is Andrew Carnegie. Andrew Carnegie was the guy who started U.S. Steel. He was a steel magnate. He was a Scottish immigrant, came to this country as a kid, was poor, started working in the steel mills, ended up owning steel mills and becoming the richest person in the world around the turn of the 20th century, back in the late 1800s, early 1900s. And he became the richest person in the world at that time. They say he was the world's first self-made billionaire back, over 120 years ago, right? So he had a quote that he said, and this is important. I'm going to say this slow because I want you to really think and take in every word here. And this is a quote: any idea that is held in the mind, that is emphasized, that is feared or revered, will begin at once to clothe itself in its most convenient and appropriate form available. All right. And I know there's some old English kind of, words that we probably wouldn't hear too often now because it was said about 120 or 130 years ago, but you get the idea. So let's break it down. Any idea that is held in the mind, any idea that we have consistently in our mind that is emphasized, meaning that we emphasize it with passion, with, consistent focus, with desire, right? With burning desire. So any idea that is held in the mind that is emphasized and we're passionate about, that is either feared or revered, meaning that it's either passionate negative, like it's feared, we fear it, whatever we hold in our mind and we fear with passion, right? Or something that we revere, that we love, that we aspire to, that we want more than anything, right? Positive or negative, if we hold it in our mind with enthusiasm, it will begin at once to clothe itself, to materialize in its most appropriate form available. That's it. So that is one of my favorite quotes because this guy was literally responsible. Much of what I'm teaching here today, he literally left behind when he hired Napoleon Hill, who ended up writing a book called Think and Grow Rich, because Carnegie hired him to leave behind. Now, if you know anything about Andrew Carnegie, he was the first world's first billionaire. He didn't believe in inherited wealth. He said he was going to spend the first half of his life earning a fortune and the second half of his life giving it all away. So you've probably heard of Carnegie Hall, right? You've heard of Carnegie Mellon University, right? You've maybe heard of the Carnegie Libraries. We have one here not far from where I live, right? Hundreds of them around the country that he set up 150 years ago. Okay, so he literally gave away. He did exactly what he said he would do. He made a fortune in the first half of his life, and he gave it all away. And yet, the greatest gift that he wanted to leave behind were the secrets to success. And this was the quote that he emphasized more than anything else. What does it really mean? In other words, our passionate thoughts become things. What we think about consistently with intensity and passion, we bring into reality. So here's my challenge for you in closing. I'm going to ask you to passionately commit to what I call the 30-day goal card challenge. And Brian has seen me, has seen me make this challenge to many, many people when he and I worked together years and years ago. And so, folks, what I'm going to ask you to do very quickly is this. I'm going to ask you to write down, get a 3x5 index card like this one. Okay. By the way, I keep mine on my money clip, right? So it's with my credit cards and my money. Why? So I have to look at it multiple times a day. And on this card is written, the things that I want to achieve most. On the back, something that will inspire me and keep me focused and on point, if and when I need it. And literally, folks, I look at this card 5, 10, 15, 20 times a day. I've laminated it, right? So that, if I drop it or if it gets wet, it's not going to get messed up. And folks, I ask you to take what I call the 30-day gold card challenge. So here it is, 3x5 index card. Now, if we were doing this live, I'd give you the index card. This means you got to go out and get your own index card, right? You can pick up a pack for about, I don't know, 69 cents, maybe 99 cents at the local drugstore, right? Take one of those cards, write down your top goal, or maybe 2 or as many as 3 of your top passionate level 3 goals that you really want in your heart of hearts. Write them on the one side. On the opposite side, write down something that would inspire you, something that will keep you going, something that will create those compelling reasons, right? Maybe it's the name of your children, if you have children. Maybe it's, it's what you'll be able to do with that success and how you, and the people you'll be able to impact, your family, the people you love, the causes you're passionate about. Maybe it's a symbol or a picture, right? Maybe it's a picture of the house you're going to buy for your family when you achieve, whatever it is that you're committed to achieving. On the one side, you write your goals. On the other side, you write something that will inspire you and keep you going. And then you carry it with you all the time, all your waking hours for 30 days. Not forever, for 30 days. Folks, I believe we can do just about anything for 30 days if we're really committed. So let's see how committed you really are. Very simple to do, even simpler and easier not to do. All right. That's my 30-day gold card challenge. I'll leave you with this. And then I'll turn it back to you, Bri, so we can wrap up. Folks, I've been doing this offering this since 1996. I saw a U.S. Olympian getting ready for the 1996 Olympics. All right, talk about how he had done this for the World Championships and he had broken the world record. Okay, and so I said, man, that's a great idea. Let me try that. Let me test it. I just tested it for myself, folks. I did that within less than a month. It was 2 to 3 weeks. Literally, one of my year-long goals. These were 1-year goals that I wrote down. One of them had been totally achieved. A 1-year goal had been achieved in less than a month. 2 others I had made major progress on. And then what happened is I said, oh my gosh, I got to start sharing this with the people in my seminars. At that time, that's when I was partnered with Tony Robbins. I was doing a lot of public seminars, and for companies, for the public, thousands of people I've shared this with, and how many hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people have come back and said, Bob, this strategy, it's a month later, I've achieved one of my goals. It's 3 months later, I've already achieved all 3 of my 1-year goals, and I now have to set new goals. So I actually have a new goal card, right? A 30-day, goal card challenge. So folks, I'm not asking you to believe me just because I'm saying it. I'm asking you to, like I said earlier, to put it to the test. And I guarantee you, if you do it and you take it and you hold it in your mind and you emphasize it, right? And you see it, you look at it, you see it as already done. You see these goals, your goals is already achieved, not as something you want, but something that's already been accomplished. See it, feel it in every essence of your being, and watch what happens. Things start to align. If you've ever heard of this concept of the law of attraction, that's how it works, folks. It's all vibration, it's all energy, and we start to literally draw these things toward us. It's amazing. So with that being said, guys, I think that's about all the time we've got for tonight. Let me turn it back to you, Brian. We went a little bit over. I appreciate the extra few minutes, and I hope everybody got a lot out of it.
Wow, Bob. Well, as a student of yours for many, many years, and there was a gap where we didn't really keep in touch, I still implemented the things that I learned 15, 20 years ago. So thank you so much for what you're giving to the audience tonight. Really, it's amazing.
I look forward to hearing from you and your progress and your goals.
Excellent. So all of you out there, thank you so much for joining. Please like us, follow the page. This way we can keep in touch. And like I said earlier, Bob and I will be putting together a mastermind inventor group that the members of National Inventor Club will be able to be a part of. So Bob, thank you so much. Really appreciate you planting the seeds for us and giving us that 30-day challenge. And these goals are for 30 days, and hopefully we come back and you come back next month and we can tell you what we achieved. Maybe we need some adjustments along the way, and you're going to help us to figure out how to get there. So thank you so much, Bob.
And Brian, thank you so much for the invitation, brother. I loved it, and I love the group. So I look forward to connecting with you all again next month.
Thank you so much, Bob. All right. That was Bob Quintana. Unbelievable information. If you'd like a copy of his slide deck tonight, as long as you're a member, either a free or premium member of National Inventor Club, you'll get a copy. You can go to nationalinventorclub.com and you can just click on the free membership, put in your information, and I'll send you the slide deck for tonight. And also you'll be on the mailing list, on the emailing list for the future meetings that we have, if you're not already, because we do live stream and there's people out there that are just watching this for the first time. So thank you very much from National Inventor Club. Go to nationalinventorclub.com and let us keep helping you move forward with your big ideas. Have a great night, everybody, and see you again soon.